Smart horse. Maybe smarter than some Democrats.
Well, that's not even a compliment.
Yeah.
You think
Definitely smarter.
the horse would have had the decency to stand up
Yes.
when a kid that is suffering from cancer gets supported, right?
For sure. The horse, he would have made the kid smile.
Yeah, well, that doesn't happen when you belong to the party of Boss Tweed and of slavery. These people have demonstrated throughout. You look at the squad and the horrible things they've said about the Jewish people and everybody, white people, Jewish people. Most of the Democrats don't agree with that. They're just too damn afraid to stand up.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I think that was on full display for all the American people. I don't think there's anybody at home that wouldn't have stood up for Laken Riley's mother and sisters. The poor girl, for no reason, was raped and killed.
Yeah. The Democrats,
and because of a government policy.
Yeah, the Democrats are, they often expose themselves, like Hillary Clinton calling us deplorable. They're the deplorable ones.
Yeah.
They lack logical empathy. That's a big thing. They not only lack logic, but they lack empathy. And that was really on display last night.
They voted, I wonder if it wasn't they voted the day before on a very, very important bill that basically said that men cannot participate in women's sports. I don't know if it also goes into, they can't go into women's bathrooms, but it should. Now, both of those things 20 years ago, you and I would have been laughing if there was anyone proposing anything like that.
It's satire.
In fact, the feminists would say, well, that would never happen under Title IX because it would eliminate women's. We fought hard to create women's sports, and it would eliminate women's sports.
Yeah. And it's like they're walking contradictions. They're pro-women, but they're also making women's lives so much more difficult. How can you be pro-woman?
Well, they're pro-women if the woman claims she was abused by a Republican.
Yeah.
But if it's Monica Lewinsky, they try to destroy her.
Yeah.
Right? Or if it's the woman we can't even remember anymore who says she was abused by Biden. Yeah. Many women abused by Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. They really stand for nothing. They only stand for themselves. Just like when they interrupted his speech last night, and a lot of them don't follow God.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't follow, a good calling, they stand for nothing. They're very self-interested.
Well, I thought the president handled it with tremendous discipline. There were times, so I even thought at the end, maybe a little Ronald Reagan would have helped and said something like, when they didn't stand for the little boy with cancer, I think I would have looked at him and I would have said, shame on you. Oh, that's it. Just shame on you.
Yeah, there's a point where you put politics aside, especially if you're a successful person.
And then we'll show you later. We have pictures of Republicans standing when Biden did essentially the same thing. When Biden brought out a young boy who was, I think, cured of cancer, and when Biden brought out some hostages that he got returned, even when Mr. Fogel and his 98-year-old mother got up, they didn't stand up. This guy was taken out of Russia by Trump, which Biden couldn't do. I don't think Biden even tried. He probably couldn't remember the name long enough to be able to say it on the telephone. But in any event, they wouldn't stand up for that. This is a 98-year-old woman who got her son back because of the president, but also because of our government. So it's like they feel that if they give him any credit, then he's going to I guess run away with it. And I think it's gotten to the point now, but their failure to give him credit is giving him more credit.
Yeah, well, if you look at
he acts like a gentleman and they act like animals,
like hyenas. Yeah. And if you look at it cup half full, it really shows their insecurity. When people act that atrocious, they're very insecure. And that's a great
observation. Yeah. And you haven't met Chuck Schumer. I know him from the time he was 20, but he's insecure. I mean,
yeah, I bet.
Insecure. Oh my God. Yeah. He's got to tell you everything he knows immediately, and most of it's wrong.
Yeah, but that's a way, President Trump is a really resilient person, and I'm sure he looks at it that way too. He realizes they stand for nothing, and he proved it last night. He really proved it last night.
So before I let you go, on the other show we pointed out, sometimes we have different people. The church in Palm Beach tonight at 5, if anybody's worried about religion, was pretty darn crowded.
Yeah, it was super crowded, and it's great to see more people are following God-oriented lives.
Mhm.
I think because of also what was on display last night, people can see that that's wrong, and lots of people have empathy, but the people that don't are really exposing themselves.
We have some pictures we can show them of the church.
I'm getting it up right now.
It is quite a beautiful church. I should tell you a historical fact about that church. That was the church the Kennedys worshipped in.
Oh, wow.
The Kennedy mansion that has now been sold couldn't have been more than a half a mile from there, headed north. Mile. The Kennedy mansion was before you make the turn at the golf club and the, you know, if you go north, there's a Palm Beach golf club, and there's I don't know what the name of the social club is. And then you make a turn. It's before that turn. So it's pretty close to St. Edward's Church.
Yeah.
Also in Palm Beach, not in Palm Beach, but in West Palm, there's another historical. Oh, there we are.
Right up to the top, the church choir and organist told me to take a hike.
Really?
But I got a video, and I was nice. But then they came up and apologized.
We got to get you a badge with my picture.
Yeah. You need credentials.
Even Kara, I think she'd get a better time in the White House if she had a little badge.
Just a picture of the mayor's face.
Yeah.
That would get us wherever we need it.
Yeah, I mean, we get treated to the extent that we get treated horribly by the Democrats, like they want to kill me and put me in jail. We get treated wonderfully by the Republicans.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, we're making up for the last 4 years. Right?
So,
but what a great mass! Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
The mayor encouraged us to go.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I'll be honest. I hope my dad's not watching tonight, but it sprung up on me this year, Ash Wednesday. I was not aware it was Ash Wednesday.
well, it's a late one.
Yeah, that's why.
You know, I actually thought it was last week, and I was in Rome.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up on Tuesday. I was in Skirpska, and I was going back to Rome. And I said, "When are we going back to Rome?" And my people said, "Well, we're going back tonight." I said, "In other words, we'll be there on Ash Wednesday." They said, "Not unless you want to stay 8 days." But I think of Ash Wednesday as being earlier than this, and this you might. These are ashes that we've brought for some homebound people. And I talked to a priest and found out what you're supposed to say, and it is perfectly fine for me to do this, or any of you to do it. It's really the reminder that's important.
That's right. And maybe we say a little prayer for
We
the
will.
Holy Father.
We will, which will be good because it's unusual to have you pray to him. So, oh, Ted is called. Ted, haven't heard from that. Let me check the book. Peter, what do we got on this guy, Ted?
Hey, he used to be.
And Peter would say back, "Hey, boss, this guy better call."
Hey, I was
Things don't look too good here.
every Sunday, Mayor, until
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Every
until
Sunday.
college, I guess.
Yeah, that's a long time, pal. That's
Yeah.
a big book.
That's a lot. Yeah.
You better get yourself a really, really good paradise defense lawyer.
Yeah. I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah, well, I might get there before you. I'll be.
one
But you got to give me like a little. I need facts to work.
Oh, confession. I got to actually do a full
I don't. Like in
confession to the
heaven,
mayor.
I don't know what the burden of proof is. You know.
I don't know. I might be a little nervous confessing to the mayor. Can you
Here's what
imagine guys sitting down with the mayor and having to confess all your sins?
Here's what I do know.
Although he'd be more. Go ahead.
It'll be a hell of a lot fairer than a crooked New York Democrat court,
Oh, that's for sure.
or the DC District Court, with all the bloodthirsty people who wanted to put the January 6 people. I think they really wanted to execute them.
The more I think about it, you'd be a good priest. No, you really.
Well, I
would.
made a mistake when I was 20 something or other, 21, 19.
Well, you did all right as mayor. I think people would say you did a good job as mayor. But no, I think you'd be a good priest. I think about this. I mean, obviously, you know the history of the Catholic Church. you know people, right? You've been dealing with people all your life in so many different ways. Good people, bad people, right? Everything in between.
Well, let's not go too much further with this because actually there's a pretty strong personal reason why I would not make a good priest.
Okay.
It's called it's called you can't get married. Which is not just I once had oh man, we have so much to cover. Here we are joking around.
All right.
I had a very, very close friend. I still do, but we don't see each other much. Who was Jewish and fairly religious Jewish, but not excessive. And he used to love religion, and we used to talk about it a lot. So I would one night I had a dinner party at my house, and I had him and his wife, and I had my best friend who is a Catholic priest, Alan, who now lives here, and he's retired. He's a Monsignor now, and he lives here in Palm Beach. And I called him about how to get these and do these. And I wanted him to come over, but he's taking care of a very ill person, so he couldn't come tonight because he could have given them to us here. And Alan was sitting there, and Alan at this point he was out of the seminary. He was in he was like a young priest, maybe his first year or second year in a very rich parish in Nassau County in Glen Cove. And Alan was explaining why priests can't marry, and also the difference between Episcopalian priests, Orthodox priests, and Catholic priests.
Right.
Then he really confused him because it gets very confusing. And there are Catholic priests that can get married, and they're in the Eastern Rite of the Catholic Church. We'll do that sometime. Maybe when we talk about Ukraine, because Ukraine has one of the biggest Eastern Rite churches in the world. 10% of Ukraine is Eastern Rite Roman Catholic.
Right.
Then the others are Orthodox, Russian, Orthodox, Ukrainian, and finally just plain old Roman Catholic or any one of the Protestant denominations. So it's a very diverse religious community. But Joe is sitting there and he says to my friend Alan, "You mean you can't get married ever?" And he said, "Yeah, you become monogamous." "Oh, monogamous. Oh, that's okay. I mean, so you don't get married, you don't get tied down. You have a lot of girlfriends, though. I mean, a priest must get a lot of girlfriends." He said, "No. You have to give up sex." I thought Joe was sick for the rest of the night. He was like, he's looking at him like he has some kind of weird. And then he was. For how long? He said, "Well, for life." And then I leaned over and I called him aside. Actually, my wife did, Regina. She called him aside. I said, "Joe, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you don't know this?" He said, "I just don't understand that. I don't understand how the guy I mean, he could live until he's 90, and I mean, what could happen to him? It could hurt your brain, or I mean, who knows?" It was very funny.
Well, two of the greatest men I know, two Italian American New Yorkers, and both were strongly considering the priesthood. That's, of course, Mayor Rudy Giuliani and the great Vince Lombardi.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
One of my heroes, too.
Same.
So we'll take a short break and we'll wish Paulino luck tomorrow. What's the name of the horse?
Okay, so his registered name is Cornet. It's mine, but I call him Mio
Right,
because in
Mio.
Italian, mine is Mio.
Mio.
Yeah.
You got to get some video of Mio.
Yeah, I have some videos jumping.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are jumping horses more usually male or female, or no makes a
Well,
difference?
that's interesting, right? So in the United States, so this is why I love this sport, because it's where your age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, a woman or a man. Everybody competes on a somewhat of a level.
So this would be a
field.
sport in which a man would not have an advantage, particularly.
Well,
Or, yes.
it depends on the horse, right? If the horse is the only advantage riders have is if the horse is nicer than the other horse.
Right.
Right. And the training you pour into it, the finances you pour into it, the effort you pour into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's really no it's that's why the sport is so cool.
Just a certain level of strength that you need.
Yeah.
You don't need excessive strength.
Yeah. So most Olympians are in their 30s and 40s,
Right.
successful ones. So it's just a sport where it takes a lot of time to master, and
He's gonna want it.
it's amazing.
You never worried about it?
Not really. So when people, I guess I'm somewhat obsessed with it.
Mhm.
So worry doesn't really go through my mind.
Of course, that's what happens when you love something.
And it's like when you're doing
don't wanna
it,
use
it's like
it,
if you, for lack of a better way to describe it, if you go out doing what you love, it's like you don't really think twice.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
We're going to report on what happens.
Yeah.
You're going to let us know.
I'll give you guys.
We're going to report, but we have a very competitive audience who do not believe that everybody gets a trophy.
Right.
You know, like the person who wins the race gets a trophy, but not everyone gets, oh, we all won.
Right.
Right? Because we're Americans, not communists.
Right.
We'll be back very shortly.
Bye.
Thank you.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
This is what we had. No, we didn't. No, it wasn't.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
There you go.
Well, I'd say our conversation with Paulina was quite interesting. We're playing different scenes of Washington, D.C., because I believe by now it's been purified and the devil has been removed. The satanic instincts of the prior administration are gone, and the reform, much more moral instincts of this present administration are taking over, which is really, really a wonderful thing for our country. You know, this is a country that, since it's based on seeking a more perfect union, it's a country that's built on constant reform, constant regeneration. That's been our trick until these. Well, you can see by last night's behavior why they've hurt the country so much, when they've either had the power to run it or the power to stop good things from happening. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I am a political expert, kind of, and I don't understand completely what they're trying to do. I shouldn't say that. I really do believe there is a organizing philosophy for all this, and it's Marxism, and it is extremely well advanced, particularly through the activities of the Chinese Communist Party. So let's see if we can take a look now at some of the more dramatic and wonderful parts of the speech last night. I would say I could describe what he's done on the border as unprecedented, historic, never been done before. And his action on the border, on the budget, on the economy has been, one article described it as swift and unrelenting. And he displayed that in a speech that was surrounded by a certain amount of poetry and imagery. And then at the end, a very clear call to action and direction where America is going. It did have a great deal of substance. I don't know if anyone signed 100 executive orders and 400 executive actions in 2.5 weeks ever before. And they're not just pieces of paper. They're things like banning men from women's sports, banning men from going into ladies' rooms, banning people from mutilating our children with mutilating our children. You don't even get the consent to that. Just like a parent can't consent to a child getting a tattoo. Why? It's irreversible. Taking off their genitals is not. Those people sitting last night are the party that, whether they believe it or not, it doesn't matter, because they make it happen. Their cowardice makes it happen. If you're concerned about living in a country in which a significant number of our states, thank God not a majority, allows for the complete mutilation of children, then that group that wasn't standing up last night is the reason that that's the case. If you're worried about a party, or you're worried about a country that seems to be way too infiltrated by China, in fact, to the extent where they might be able to get us from within, those people sitting last night are largely the reason for it. Now, there are people on the other side, in the case of China, that are compromised. But the side that wasn't able to stand up is overwhelmed with it. And then even the ones who oppose China can't speak up when the dictators of the party say what the position is. For example, when Trump called the coronavirus COVID-19, when he called it the Chinese virus, it was an absolutely appropriate thing to do. It was no different than calling the Lyme disease Lyme disease. Lyme disease emerged from Lyme, Connecticut. Or I had to deal with the first arrival of West Nile virus in America. We didn't say we were acting xenophobic toward the Egyptian people. There was nothing xenophobic about it. It was a pure factual description of where it came from, because there was a massive, almost inhumane, indescribable crime lying behind this, and plan and plot, which was well known to that miserable little rat Fauci. They all got together and condemned Trump. Now, there were some that knew the plot, many that didn't, but they went along. If you're a senator from Maryland, what the hell are you condemning the president, Republican or Democrat, for just naming the damn virus for the place it came from? You're doing it because your party is significantly infiltrated and corrupted by the CCP, and has been for a very, very long time. Does my party have some of that? Hey, you look at old man McConnell, 5 million from Red Chinese, changed his positions. Thank God he's going. Thank God he's going. And you wonder, well, why do you oppose Trump so much for re-election? Because a lot of people who were pro-China tried to get Trump to change his mind, including some of his fundraisers about China. And all it did was convince him it's a bigger problem than we think. Because whatever you think of Trump, he loves this country. And he's also not going to sell this country out for either Chinese influence, Chinese money, Chinese flattery, Chinese whatever, Chinese food. None of that. The substantive part of the speech was really, really good, because it wasn't just, so he did talk about his accomplishments, not overly, but well, but it also was forward-looking. Nuclear defense of this country in a new age, in which we have to think about supersonic flight, we have to think about hypersonic flight, we have to think of flight of missiles coming here in space, where they're harder to intercept. We have to think about missiles that are designed not to be intercepted. So he immediately invested, I've forgotten the exact amount, but an enormous amount of money. And within 2 days of being in office, he put together a group to, within 60 days, recommend to him how we can develop, and how long is it going to take to develop a state-of-the-art, absolutely impenetrable nuclear defense. Now, no Democrat would ever do that, because Democrats, either because they hate the country, or they serve communist interests, or they're stupid, never understood nuclear defense. I can remember trying to explain it to some of the dodos. Now, Biden in particular. Reagan was made fun of for Star Wars. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't shoot missiles. You can't stop it. So Reagan would say, almost with great patience, as if you were talking to an incorrigible 5-year-old, he would say, can missiles shoot down airplanes? Of course, but these aren't airplanes. Well, then why couldn't a missile shoot down a missile that it's bigger than, faster than, smarter than? Oh, well, I guess, yeah. But you can never make enough of them. Well, why can't you? Why don't you try? Well, we see it works, right? So we see that it works on a small scale, Israel. Well, that's the same thing with broken windows theory. I know it's a different thing, but when I became mayor, a lot of people think I invented or Bratton invented the broken windows theory. Bratton doesn't correct people. And some jerk in the Post wrote it yesterday that Bratton started it. I didn't start it. Bratton didn't start it. But Bratton is too insecure to tell you who started it. James Q. Wilson started it, and he or wrote about it originally. There's a whole analogy about a building, and you break the first window and you don't pay attention. You break the second one, you don't pay attention, and then the building falls down for lack of dealing with the first attack, which you could excuse as minor, and then the whole structure falls apart. And by having a building with lots of broken windows, you're inviting people to break the windows. By having a city with lots of graffiti, you're inviting people to put more graffiti there. And bigger picture, you're teaching people that they can trash the rights of other people. Because that building that they're writing on isn't theirs. So that's the broken window theory. You got to pay attention to small things, because out of that the big things emerge, and that is that really. I mean, if you look at what Trump is doing, he's doing both. And in the speech last night, he illustrated both. And I thought the presentation of the guests was about. I mean, very often you get guests, and it's hard. Mistakes are made, and a lot of them sometimes you wonder why they're being introduced. I mean, there's nothing particularly significant. The very first one was Lenny Slotnick, and Lenny Slotnick saved lives in the Potomac when the Florida Air flight went down right in the Potomac River. Trump was, of course, in Washington that day and saw on the local news this man who went into the freezing river 3 times to go out to the plane before anybody else could get there. I think the last time the police had gotten there and started bringing people in and saving them, and almost lost his life out of being frozen to death. So I believe the State of the Union speech was about 2 weeks later, and he began this with Lenny Slotnick. And then as he moved along, he added more people. And then Clinton followed him, and Bush followed him, and then Trump followed him, and then on and on. So this really, you want to show Lenny?
Just 2 weeks ago, in the midst of a terrible tragedy on the Potomac, we saw again the spirit of American heroism at its finest. The heroism of dedicated rescue workers saving crash victims from icy waters. And we saw the heroism of one of our young government employees, Lenny Skutnik, who, when he saw a woman lose her grip on the helicopter line,
82.
dived into the water and dragged her to safety.
I think it was 82. Because I think he'd been president at that time. Well, we might note the Democrats and Republicans were cheering for an American hero, but last night when a hostage recovered from Russia that Biden couldn't recover because Biden couldn't tie his shoes. The reality is that none of them stood and applauded for that. I mean, what possibly is wrong with getting an American hostage back? By the same token, when Biden did that and announced that he brought a hostage back, probably by releasing 400 murderers. No, he didn't. But he did release a very, very dangerous person. The Republicans stood up and cheered. Because Republicans are different than Democrats now. They didn't used to be that different. They love their country, so that was good for their country. They're not completely dominated by the political party. They don't let people tell them what to do, like the Democrats who probably wanted to vote for the bill that banned men from female sports, since 70% of their party believes in that. But were intimidated by Schumer and told they wouldn't get any money. And of course, money is always to Democrats more important than principle, or they'd be Republicans. That's the way it is now, by the way. And that's why the only solution, I believe, is for the party to get crushed and start a new one with a group of people who have a left of center view, but completely share the same constitutional values that we have. Because they're not our values, they're not Republican values. They come from our founding fathers and from our Constitution. And I think everybody should agree that this is a wonderful country, because they spend all their time attacking this country. And even the ones who don't want to do it are intimidated into keeping their mouth shut, like they're all intimidated into keeping their mouth shut about AOC and the one who was married to her brother, and that kind of thing. Our country is only going to function as a really good two-party country when both parties engage with each other. And I think last night's imagery showed you that they're the party that doesn't engage. I don't remember a time. I mean, I remember one time during Obama, a long time ago, Congressman Wilson said he was lying about the way Obamacare was passed. He was, actually. And Wilson shouldn't have done it. But he just said liar. He didn't interrupt the way, I mean, if Al Green's not a communist, boy, does he do a great imitation of one. He acted like a monster last, like a pig. He looked like he went to the same tailor as Zelensky. Yeah, he probably called Zelensky and said, "Hey, you look so crappy in the White House. I want to look crappy tomorrow night. Where should I go?" So they had to throw him out. The rest of them just stood there. I thought that expression, the one when the young man who has cancer was on by one of the Democrats, I thought she was actually thinking of clapping and then held herself back.
Directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the
Do we have it?
and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
Oh, there's the animal. Yeah. What did Stephen name him?
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the sergeant at arms to restore order to the joint session.
Lucky he didn't set up the fire alarm, huh? Well, they do that too. Democrats set up fire alarms.
Coleman, he got thrown out. He lost the primary.
He's organizing a pack now to defeat anybody running for office.
Mr. Green, take your seat.
Who's honest.
Take your seat, sir.
Take your seat, sir.
Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the sergeant at arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Now, what kind of example is that for children? What I mean, so you can't listen to people who disagree with you, which destroys a democracy. So they didn't insult Trump last night. They helped Trump last night. They insulted the American people. They insulted me. Yeah. They insulted Ted. They insulted Steve. They insulted any of us who supported Trump.
Yep.
I mean, we obviously are absolute fools for electing a man where you can't even stand up when he presents a cancer survivor or a cancer patient. He's supposed to be some horrible person that we've all voted for, all 77 million of us. I mean, you live with us, idiots. Supposedly, when you govern, we should be as much a concern of yours as the Democrats are, but we know we're not. You want to put us in jail. That also shows us you're not part of a democracy. You're part of what you have done, and the press lets you get away with it. You have created, and luckily we're now taking it apart piece by piece, a totalitarian state. Under Biden, we were a totalitarian state. We would have been even more if some of the things weren't stopped. He did try to have a minister of truth that would use the pretext of fake speech or their definition of science as a way of taking a job away, prosecuting you, the way they're doing in Europe. A man is being prosecuted in Germany because he's thinking the wrong thoughts. Oh, they'd love to do that here. I mean, look, the German guy who is part of that kind of excessive prosecution of what he regards as the far right is going to be the chancellor of Germany. And he's accusing them of being neo-Nazis. Well, I don't know if they are or they aren't. All I can tell you is he's using not a neo-Nazi tactic. He's using a Nazi tactic. Right? He's acting like a Nazi. They raided a man's house and they found some anti-Semitic literature and they put him in jail because he must have been thinking bad thoughts. Now, I think the guy's a shit for having them, unless maybe he was reading them to find out about them. I'm a lawyer, so I always look for ways to defend people, but just the mere fact that he had it there, I mean, does the guy have a history of engaging in it? Or is he trying to look at it from the point of view of finding out what's wrong with it or informing himself? But you certainly can't prosecute him just because he has them there. Even if he was expressing Nazi thoughts or communist thoughts, or you can't prosecute him because we have the belief that if you really construct a society around free speech, it basically means you have confidence in your people because it's their government. And I don't have any fear of false speech because I'm fully capable of rebutting it. And the more you want to make it false, the more I can make a fool out of you because I'm confident of my position. I have no desire to put these people in prison for false speech. I do have a real desire for putting them in prison when they obstruct justice. I have a real desire for putting them in prison when they take bribes. Then I get angry, upset, and my patriotism kicks in because you're selling out my country. So I would say this headline is a beautiful headline. Bunch of clowns. Just too nice. That's too nice. This is too nice for them.
Right.
So can we now show our audience some of the people? Because I think they kind of deserve it. Some of the people who got honored last night.
I'm going to bring up that.
And not for the purpose of, just understand uniformly, and we're not going to make a big deal of that part of it, but uniformly, the Democrats didn't stand for any of these people. And you ask yourself, what kind of human beings can't find a way to honor these people? And what a lousy thing to do. I was honored once in Congress with George Pataki. It was when George Bush gave an address to the nation after September 11, and he commended us on the good job that we did in saving New York. And we stood up, George and I together, and we stood up 3 times. And it's one of my proudest memories, one of my proudest moments. Look, I'm not as sensitive, I imagine, as some of these people, but I would have really spoiled it if the Democrats had sat down when all I did was try to, save people's lives. So let's look at what we got there. You tell us which one we're going to focus on.
Well, okay, Mayor. So of course, we have a couple pictures here to start off with to show you some of the people that were honored during the joint session. A number of folks were, of course, honored, as the mayor has been talking about. And one we really want to show, of course, everyone, he really captured America's heart last night. And that's, of course, America's newest Secret Service agent. And we'll let the president introduce him.
He's a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
Isn't that something?
Hey, DJ.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times.
Well, actually, I think they concluded that, and then the president went into another version of it, and said he was going to make him a Secret Service agent, and he had the head of the Secret Service, whose face you're going to recognize because his face is going to be iconic in America because it's the face right next to Donald Trump when Donald Trump came up after having almost been assassinated. Right. So you'll recognize his face immediately if you didn't know that he appointed him as head of the Secret Service.
Right. So
I just love, law enforcement officers are tough.
To officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
I just love the expression on his face when that's mentioned. There's Sean Curran, of course, from you call it, is it the famous or infamous?
No, famous.
Famous photo. Fight. There he is. There's his badge. So, Mayor, I don't want to keep bringing it back to the Democrats. How do you not stand for this? How do you sit there?
Because you're not a human being. You've lost your humanity. Your humanity has been sacrificed to political power, political greed.
I am asking.
Or you're a coward who's given away your decision-making to other people because they control your life. You're not capable of raising money on your own. So Schumer comes to you and says, you better toe the party line, you jackass, or you're not going to get money. And you say, yes, Chuck, yes, Chuck. You know, if you just punch Chuck in the face, you go right down. Or you're a coward. He would. Oh, you can't do that. Well, then threaten to punch him in the face. He'd start crying. And threaten him really hard, and he would start crying and peeing. He's a useless guy. Completely useless. He's a traitor.
Yeah.
He's a traitor to his own people.
Yes.
Traitors are bad no matter what, but traitor to Israel.
Ugh. The worst.
Supporting an administration that supports Hamas. You know how much money your administration, Schumer, gave to Hamas to kill Jews? About 10 times more than they gave Israel to protect themselves. So you supported an administration that participated in funding a group that killed numerous Jews. You also supported, I imagine, Obama, and didn't say anything when Obama was caught giving cash to the Ayatollah, who killed a lot of Jews and wants to kill them all, including you.
How did this? How did this become this party that absolutely hates
the communists? The communists looked at this party way back, and since it was the party of slavery, since it was the party of Jim Crow and segregation, since it was the party that was willing to make compromises with the most extreme enemies of civil rights and human rights, to the point of lynching people and killing people. I mean, this is the party, my dear Italian friends, where who basically, I mean, the Ku Klux Klan is a Democrat Party creation. The second largest group were Italian Americans. So I don't know what the hell you're doing as Democrats. I sure as hell wouldn't belong to a party that had a history of being the biggest defender of slavery in the United States, the biggest defender of segregation and Jim Crow, and the biggest defender of the Ku Klux Klan. Several of their significant senators that were friendly with Joe Biden were major figures in the Ku Klux Klan. And Joe, for one of them, gave a eulogy about what a wonderful life the guy led. So this is a very, very distorted, morally bankrupt political party. And I think when the communists decided who would we infiltrate, which would go back to kind of the Russian Revolution. They weren't thinking about infiltrating in America, I don't think, much before that. They decided that the Democrat Party was much more vulnerable than the Republican Party. And they were right. And they started with Wilson. They built it up during the 1920s. They overwhelmed the Roosevelt administration with it. And a lot of them were cleaned out after the war. And unfortunately, the McCarthy era ended up backfiring, possibly because McCarthy overdid it, possibly because McCarthy was morally himself not the right guy to carry the fight. He was an alcoholic. Or possibly they made him an alcoholic. I mean, who knows? I mean, somebody's got to go back and look at all those things all over again, knowing how bad the people serving our government were. You go back. So from Eisenhower to Trump, with maybe a few exceptions because I don't know them all. Absolutely not a single president trusted the CIA. Several weeks into office, the CIA double-crossed Kennedy at the Bay of Pigs. And Kennedy removed the head of the CIA. And from then on, his brother really ran the CIA. He didn't trust him. He didn't trust any information they gave him. That's a long time ago. That's a Democrat president. And that's as accurate as the snow you see on the ground. You ask Bill Clinton about the CIA, he'll tell you the same thing that George Bush would tell you. Maybe not the father. The father ran the CIA and might have had a secret little affection for them. Now, I was in the Justice Department, and I came up against the CIA or with the CIA because as Associate Attorney General, I had responsibility for the FISA court and all of the applications for Russian undercover Russian spies and our undercover people. And I believe that Radcliffe is doing exactly the right thing. When he came in, he sent a letter to every member of the CIA and said, here's a nice package for you to resign. The whole agency. I would start over again. I don't trust it one bit. And I don't know that I trust our ability to figure out who the good ones are and who the bad ones are. And unlike the FBI, I think if you can be worse than the FBI, they're worse than the FBI. The FBI, I do think, have an awful lot of people who have the right instincts, came in with the right instincts, and maybe haven't been corrupted. Having said that, I don't think it's just a few bad apples either. This is a systemic problem with the FBI. It's gone on for too many years. There have been too many Nazi prison guards. I consider the people who went and raided Roger Stone's house Nazi prison guards. There's no way, if I were an FBI agent, that you have me dress up like a stormtrooper with a machine gun to go arrest a guy for, I don't know, lying to Congress. What I'd say is, hey, can we arrest all of Congress first, and then we'll get to him? Because he only lied once. They lie every day. Hey, by the way, what's Shifty Schiff doing tonight? Why don't we arrest him about 5 times? There's a certain what we have to expect from an FBI agent. I mean, this isn't just another worker. An FBI agent, used to have a college degree. Used to have a law degree. I'm sorry. Now they have to have a college degree, and they're expected to exercise the judgment that a person who can take your liberty away should be able to exercise. And they are expected to make their own determinations of whether or not they're being asked to do illegal things. And it is perfectly consistent with that to give up your job because you're being asked to do something illegal. Is that asking too much? Because if not, then we become a nation of Nazi prison guards. Whatever they say is okay. I mean, did it seem right to you that you'd put leg braces on Peter Navarro? Why in God's name would Peter Navarro need leg braces? He's going to outrun 15 guys and women who are half his age who have guns. I didn't put leg irons on Fat Tony Salerno. Well, he was too fat to outrun us. But I didn't put him on Carmine Persico, who might have been able to outrun us. I don't know. He's a lot worse than Peter Navarro. I never heard of putting leg irons on federal prisoners, except if they were terrorists. I also arrested 2 elderly Nazis. I kind of wanted to put leg braces on them, but I didn't. I didn't have to. I'm not sure I even knew we had leg braces. I thought they were like military. And I never knew we had FBI agents that, had super duper uniforms with things to come down and machine guns. The machine guns I remember the FBI, they were in suits. Remember? The G-men. I was a junior G-man. I was a junior G-man when I was a baby. And I sent in my bottle tops or something, and I got junior G-man badge. I was the first one on my block to have one. So I bossed everyone around until they got them, and then we started fighting. So what's going on in Ukraine? Well, if you can figure it out, well, not really. I had a very, very intense conversation with someone today who knows what's going on in the Ukraine, and I talked to someone in the Ukraine today at a very, very high level, which I will not reveal until this is all over for fear that this will jeopardize his situation. So the idea that the people of Ukraine are uniformly behind this little crook, Zelensky, is wrong. The people of Ukraine were very much against Zelensky. This maneuver gained him some false popularity. This idea that he was pushed around by Trump and Vance gained him some popularity. His numbers, his popularity was in the tank, and it's revived somewhat. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's the way it was described to me. But not to the point where people are really comfortable with his permanently. Oh, let's put it this way: they'd like to get rid of him real quick. Think about it. He's led them down the primrose path and gotten an awful lot of them killed for a result he could have gotten 2 years ago. Everybody killed from the time that from the time that Russia completed its land bridge to Crimea. Everybody killed is on his shoulders because he never had a plan to win. He'll blame it on the United States. He'll blame it on Europe. He'll say they didn't give him what it takes to win. But he knew from the beginning that they weren't. I mean, unless Zelensky is the dumbest man on the planet, Biden wouldn't fight a war against Russia. He got money from Russia. Every time he does the sanctions, he leaves out the people who gave him money from Russia, but nobody notes it. I mean, Russians and Chinese communists do not give you money for nothing. They don't give you money so that a broken down, degenerate drug addict can slobber all over their boardroom. Particularly if that guy is the son of the most powerful man in Ukraine. Because that's who Biden was, the most powerful man in Ukraine, because Obama,
open terrain,
man,
they immediately encounter resistance.
He was able to determine if Ukraine got money or not. And a crooked Ukrainian oligarch figured out that's the guy to fix my case. Because he knew what has been hidden from you, that for his entire career, Joe Biden has been a crook, a major crook. And all of a sudden got into the big money with Ukraine. So now Zelensky has caved in again. Zelensky has written a letter to the president, which he read part of last night, in which he has agreed to everything. He is going to agree to a ceasefire. He is going to agree to a peace. He is going to agree to the mine deal, which, as I understand it, unless it's changed, is 50% for us, 50% for them, of the rare minerals in Ukraine. He is going to agree to the financial, sort of like a fund jointly funded by the U.S. and Ukraine for investment. Not a bad idea. Let's say we put in 500 million and they put in 500 million. Their 500 million will be 3 times that if they're investing with us. Trump tried to explain this to Zelensky, who's not unintelligent, that if you give us some of these minerals, we set up a joint fund where we both profit, all of a sudden something happens you don't have now. America has an interest in you. It's one thing to have a idealistic interest in you. We don't want you killed. We don't want you oppressed. We don't want you oppressed by Putin. But I mean, we could describe half the world as being in a situation like that. What about all the people in China? A lot more than the people in Ukraine. What about our fellow Christians all over the world that the Muslims are killing? I mean, shouldn't we go to war with Iran? They want to destroy Israel. Israel's a lot more important to us, sorry, Ukraine, than you are. What the hell have you ever done for us? Nothing. Now, please don't mistake that for any kind of animosity of the Ukrainian people. I just have great empathy and respect for the Ukrainian people. And I despise their political leaders, almost every single one. And I got to find one that's honest. I did find one and they poisoned him. That's not a joke. First time I went to the Ukraine, I asked John McCain, who can I deal with? Who's honest in the government? He said, nobody. I said, on one side or the other, nobody. Don't trust anybody. The president is a major crook, and he may have chopped the head of a journalist off. And the guy who wants to replace him, the guys are all equally crooked, except for one guy, Viktor Yushchenko. But he said, I don't think Putin's going to let him live. And lo and behold, I met Victor. We became very good friends. Our wives became friends. My stepdaughter became friends with him because of his art collection. And I can't remember exactly how much after, very shortly thereafter, he was poisoned and almost killed, saved by an Austrian hospital because there's no place in Ukraine you could take him that you could trust. And he became president, but he didn't have what he had before. It was ripped from him. And he got surrounded by a group that appeared to be, freedom people who had no interest in taking graft and corruption. And as John McCain said, there was only him. The ones he brought in were all crooks. They were maybe not as bad as the Kuchma crooks, but bad. And then he got replaced by Yushchenko, who left the country with $800,000 in its bank account, took out all the rest, laundered by Zelensky's patron, Kolomoisky, who ran the bank and is an expert money launderer. And he's the guy who produced Zelensky, paid for his election, because Zelensky took him back from exile. because he was thrown out of Ukraine for stealing so much of Ukraine's money. See how much Zelensky cares about Ukrainian money? He never sued any of them to get the money back. He could have gotten back hundreds of millions. But maybe he doesn't want people to sue him. So I don't know if this is going to hold. This guy promised to do this mineral deal 3 times and didn't sign it. When it's signed and we locate our mineral properties, then the deal's done. Now, I want to point out to you, not with any kind of, well, yes, with admiration for his skill, certainly not admiration for who he is, because he's a inveterate, unbelievably dedicated murderer. Putin's a very shrewd guy, however. In the middle of this, he wrote a letter, or he sent a communique to Trump. And he said, hey, that's a great deal, that mineral deal. You know, he doesn't want to do the deal, I'll do it. So if we could, can we put up a map of, Ukraine?
Yeah.
Are we capable?
I'm going to I'll bring one up. You bring it up on there.
I'm going to show you something that everybody needs to see. And I need my white pen, but I can't find it. So I'm going to take a short break before we get to that. And we're going to try to find my white pen and give you a chance to have a little break and for me to have a white pen. No white pen.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory, or it's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please don't. Now, the only way you can possibly understand Ukraine, well, I guess maybe a 1,000-year course in Russian-Ukrainian history, and also the history of the Greek Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and the Polish Roman Catholic Church. That'll tell you a lot of it, as well as the Tsar, the ambitions of the Tsars, the love of Russia and the hatred of Russia. That's all part of it. However, let's simplify. If you look at the map, you'll see that the area in, give me a color for that. I don't know what you call that.
Is that a
Cream,
pink?
yeah,
We'll
cream.
call it pink.
It should be red, but okay, it's a cream color, like something or other. All that area from Luhansk Oblast to Crimea is now in the hands of Russia. Now, you see at the top of the map, Ukraine holds territory also in Russia, which during last year they acquired. It's called Kursk Oblast. Oblast is county. I think county would be the best, or state. No, I'm sorry, state. So basically, they took not complete, but they took control of 4 states. But there's a significance to these states. These states are a land bridge. See if I can get this to work. These states are what we call a land bridge to Crimea. You see, it's a complete open highway to Crimea. In 2014, they acquired 95% of that under Obama. However, they didn't have a continuous land bridge. They had obstructions in it. And Putin, for all that time, had been plotting to, how do I do that? How do I get that done? It's a credit to Trump. He never did it under Trump. He could have done it in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Could have done it when we were suffering from a pandemic, but he himself was suffering from pandemic then. Now, I believe that you know why, because Putin is, in fact, a careful man. He doesn't want to destroy his country. And he was worried that Trump would bomb the hell out of him. And Trump told him he would. Sort of have messing around. Trump would say to Putin, I really don't want you to attack Ukraine. Why should we have a war or something? It would be a shame. You know, those buildings you have in Moscow, you know, the ones with the beautiful gold domes on them. What a shame if I had to bomb them all. And Putin would look at him and say, you would? He said, well, you would force me to. So Ted and I asked him, I don't mind repeating this. It gives you an idea of how shrewd our president is. We said, did Putin believe you? And he said, yeah, at least 10%. And that's all you need.
And I remember afterwards.
That's all you need. You need to create the doubt, which Biden removed. There's no doubt that Biden would not go to war for the United States. Maybe for China. They paid him a lot more, but not for the United States. And there's no question that Obama wouldn't. He might have gone to war for Islam. He gave millions in cash to the Ayatollah who killed Americans. But you don't think Putin, I mean, some of the jackasses in America don't get it. Putin may be evil. Putin may be a murderer, and he is, but he's smart as hell. And he doesn't live in this ridiculously silly, childish world that American liberals live in. He lives in the real world of life and death. When he would sit with Obama, I'd say, what are we doing? And I could see it. I know Putin a little bit, enough to analyze him a bit. Putin is sitting there looking at Obama saying, I'm a killer. I'm a killer. KGB. I mean, personally and societally. This is some kind of social worker trained by the Communist Party, but as a little pipsqueak. And he's sitting there looking like he's scared shitless of me. Remember when Obama leaned over to Medvedev, who was the interim president? That guy really got to be a smart guy to escape getting killed by Putin. But now he's one of his biggest guys. He leaned over to Medvedev right before It was right before the 2012 election. And he said, you know, when the election's over, I'll be able to do a lot of stuff for Vladimir. That's it. That's almost a great imitation because he stuttered at the end. He's getting nervous.
Right.
I guess, you know, you get to treason and you get nervous.
So we can get this on video. I have it right here.
So,
Right here.
that's the party that he's over.
After my election, I have more flexibility. After my election, I have more flexibility. I transmit this.
I love we should transmit this information to Vladimir. What? Vladimir wasn't the. That's funny.
So I hope this happens because where we are right now, before little Zelensky sent this, he was saying the opposite. He was saying that he thought it would be a very long war. And I don't suspect, I know there's a real motive for him to have a long war. That's to make more money. Because a long war is not going to win the war. How do you move Russia out of that? All that they have there. See that right there? All they have there. Right? Okay. How do you move them out of there? You don't. The tanks that they want will allow them to take certain areas. Maybe they'll be able to take, you see here, looks like they have the entire region of the Luhansk Oblast. This is Donbass. You always hear about Donbass. This is Donbass. Let me also add something of significance to Donbass. Donbass has 1/3 of the precious minerals that we want. When we say precious minerals, let's get more specific. These are the minerals that will allow us to compete and overtake China in supercomputing, which is even more important than military. We got to win that war even more than we have to win the military war, because if you lose that war, the AI and the quantum computers can completely undercut all of your military apparatus, everything you got. And the one advantage that we have is that, for example, the supercomputers necessary, Taiwan has a monopoly on it. You see the great deal that Trump just made, moving a lot of that manufacturing to Arizona, in which he convinced the government of Taiwan it's safer for them to do that. It reduces China's desire to take them over if they're not going to get all those chips. And it's not going to do any good because America is going to be able to alternatively produce them. It also increases America's need to defend them. Since we're making these trips together, and between the two of us, we dominate the supercomputer business. China can't make a supercomputer without Taiwanese chips. They make shitty little stupid computers because they are not creative. The Chinese are not creative, and they are completely imitators. They're great imitators because they're extremely disciplined. And you tell them to go, it's like doing painting by numbers. They're not Da Vinci, they're not Michelangelo, but they'll do a better job of getting the paint right in where the numbers should be. And that's why they stole from us and copied from us. But if we can cut off some of the stealing with the capacity that we have, which is still much greater than theirs, the intellectual capacity that we have, and the fact, and you see Trump talking about these students staying in America. Well, why are they talking about students staying in America and throwing the migrants, illegal migrants out, illegal aliens out? Well, I'll tell you why. A lot of the illegal aliens want to rape us, and the students want to develop high-level technology for us. Gee, that's not hard to figure out which one you might want if you're a president. So we have a monopoly on that. How many great world scientists you think want to go to Russia or China. The ones there, half of them want to get out. So they're not going to acquire the great geniuses of the world unless they have them. We'll acquire them. And we'll always be more inventive than they are. The problem is, how do we cut off their stealing it from us? So, we're 6 months ahead and all of a sudden we're even. I mean, we can't have Rosenbergs around anymore, right? Who gave away the atomic bomb. That was a much simpler era, but it's the same kind of thing. And so these tanks you're talking about, these Bradley tanks that they want, would allow them to take back territory in that in those 4 oblasts. I would imagine if they're smart, the priority would be up in here. You can see that up in here, because this is where the minerals are. This region here.
Is this is the updated map?
Pardon me?
This is updated map?
Yeah, this is updated map. Yeah, this is Ukraine holds this. They hold all of this. Here's Kharkiv, my favorite city that they couldn't take.
They couldn't take it. And who designed the security for that region?
I helped do it with John Humain. Yep, we left there in 2018 with the mayor alive, and now the mayor is dead. And a lot of our friends in Kharkiv are dead. I caught up with some of that today, unfortunately. And was assured that my analysis of, I didn't have to be assured, I just wanted to, it's always nice to have somebody on your side, that I'm not overdoing it in telling you that Zelensky is a miserable little crook. Made by Kolomoisky on money laundering money in the billions, stolen from the people of Ukraine. Sitting on top of evidence that would put numerous people at the highest level of his government and some people at the highest level of my government in jail for the rest of their lives. Pretty much able to uncover about a 10-year money laundering scheme with a few more high-level Democrats than just Biden. And the connection between Ukraine and the United States is Democrat. They're a democratic country. They are like a part of the Democratic National Committee. In 2016, their ambassador endorsed Hillary Clinton. In 2016, the American embassy was well known as the Hillary Clinton for president. They contributed any number of false items to the Steele dossier, and they created an entirely false book of bribes that was proven to be totally untrue in order to advance the Manafort investigation. When the hard drive came up, little Zelensky knew exactly the accuracy of it and had every bit of information plus more that would have validated it. Yet he let Biden lie and lie and lie, and he let him accuse President Trump and me of being Russian agents when he knew that was absolutely untrue, based on the files that he has that show that the Biden crimes in Ukraine go well beyond what we know about. So think about that. He's gotten, he likes to, the phony press likes to say, we gave him 175 billion. Now, we've given Israel 14 billion, so even that is ridiculous. We've given them over 300 billion. And if we only gave them 175 billion, well, they only spent 75 because the little liar said, we can't account for $100 billion of the money that came to us. Why is he in prison? You can't account for $100 billion? That's crazy. And we sit there like that's a normal thing to say. You can't. Please calm me down. This is one of the most crooked countries in the world. If you doubt that, you're a fool. Is it more used to always be, who's more crooked? Ukraine or Russia? And people would say worse in Ukraine because it's more concentrated. Russia's so big you can find places to make honest deals. because they can't find you. Not that they're any better. They're so big they can't find you. Ukraine, they'll find you in a second. And you don't pay, Kuzma may come to see you and chop your head off. Like they are crooked oligarchs. They're organized criminals because they use murder. They use intimidation. And they have a very strange thing that would be hard to understand and therefore can throw you off. Let's take Kolomoisky, who's one of the biggest, and controlled Zelensky up until about 2 years ago. And then Zelensky double-crossed him and put him away. Kolomoisky is a hero in some ways in Ukraine and a great devil. When I think he came from Minsk, and when Minsk was attacked by the Russians in 2014, he left the bank that warranted out all of Ukrainian money and stole it from the Ukrainian people. And he went there, he organized a militia, and he fought Russia off bravely. Got him a couple more months, and then they still exiled him because he's the crookedest banker in the world. Now, that's not unusual. So let's say we give them 50 billion. For them, it is perfectly patriotic to say, we'll take 25 million and split it up among the oligarchs, 25 billion, split up among the oligarchs, and Kolomoisky will launder it for us. You'll never find it. And then we'll use 25 million to fight Russia. I will tell you for sure that all that money did not reach the front lines. And also, this is at least 13 to now is 10. This is at least a 12-year conspiracy. We took a lot of that money. Maybe we took a lion's share in this situation because we were in control of it. But we're just as crooked as they are. I mean, if you go to Ukraine and you try to lecture them on morality, they say, well, straighten out your own people first. Who the hell do you think we share this with? The Martians? It's all your people. They also laugh at us. I mean, they laugh at the way Biden was protected. Everybody in Ukraine knows Biden's been a crook for years. They banned his son from Ukraine because he was going out on the streets harassing Ukrainian prostitutes. This is the kind of perverted family we have in the White House. Well, let's see if we can get that settled. I had a feeling today with the conversations there and here, this is going to happen now. This guy made a massive mistake. All of a sudden, he realizes that when he ran over to Europe and they promised him, Keir Starmer promised him, we'll give you British troops. And the British journalist at the press conference said, what troops? We have troops? Macron, before push came to shove, said, well, we're going to train French troops, and then thought better of it and said, I think we should have a partial truce. What is a partial truce? Some people will be fighting, and other people, and some people will be fighting, and other people will not be fighting. There's no such thing as a partial truce. This is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard of. It could only come from France. So I think Zelensky pretty much figured out that whole group of Europeans are useless. They're not going to defend Ukraine. They wouldn't defend their own country. All they do is bullshit and try to appear as if they're intellectuals. Partial truce. So you saw the map up there. What we're going to be fighting in Kherson, but not in Donetsk. And I guess and Putin's going to live up to it. So Putin, they're going to say, okay, partial truce. We'll fight in 2 oblasts, but not the other 2. But they might select like different oblasts, and then they'll be fighting in all of them. This war has to end because it doesn't have a purpose anymore, except making money. The war hasn't had a purpose for over 2 years. Every single Ukrainian that died in the last 2 years, the little rat is going to have to answer for up there. If this country, Ukraine, had a patriot as their president, when he realized that it wasn't going to work, that that Biden was not going to take a risk of a major war with Russia for him, despite the fact that he jerked him off and took millions from his country, he should have made the peace and get the best that he could for his country. Now, turning his back on Trump is ridiculous because Trump will make a better peace for him than Biden ever would have. But he doesn't want a peace. It reminds me of Arafat. It reminds me of when Clinton sold his soul. Well, Clinton didn't have a soul. What would he have sold? Well, oh, yeah. Oh, I know what he would have sold. Yeah. The thing that got him in trouble. So he sold that to Arafat, right? And then Arafat, at the end, when Clinton gave him everything, half of Jerusalem, and no guarantee of security for Israel, Arafat said, screw you. I like the war. I like this war, particularly now that I'm not involved in it. It was a little before Hamas, but the predecessors, the Muslim Brotherhood and the breakoff from the PLO, they're doing all the dirty work, and I'm collecting all the money. Witness the fact that his wife has been one of the richest women in South France for the last 10 years. That's all the money that would have gone to Palestine. And Trump is absolutely right. Gaza would be Monaco if the money we put in there wasn't stolen by the UN, Hamas, and every other left-wing freak you can imagine. I'm sure Soros got his hands on it. He sure got his hands on all the money that went to Ukraine. One of the cases that was fixed by Biden was for Soros. Zelensky knows that and is sitting on it. So he leans over to Joe and says, Joe, I want another 30 billion, not bills. And Joe said, and then he says, Joe, you realize I have all the pictures. Giuliani and the other guys, they got half of them. But I got the other half. I got the better half, Joe. Oh, I'll give you 80 billion. This is ridiculous. We've had a president that could be extorted by a guy from the most crooked country in the world, or one of them. And we've got money going there, and the guy has the gall to tell us 100 billion of it is unaccounted for. And we're going to give him more money to get more people killed? I mean, he should care about his own people more than Trump does, but he doesn't. He wouldn't have done the things he did if he cared about his people. None of these crooks in Ukraine would do what they're doing if they cared about the people of Ukraine. People of Ukraine, for them, are just a bunch of deplorables. Sound familiar? Well, we're going to take a short break, and let's see. We'll be back, right?
Yeah, let's come back and
wrap up?
Wrap it up.
All right.
We're on a roll tonight, Mayor. So much news on a very busy Wednesday night.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
I'm getting that whole group here. So I know this is irrelevant. We're back on America's Mayor Live. And you know, we pretty much stay relevant on topics, but I just got a thought. When Biden fell going up the steps the first time, which I never saw before. I never saw anyone fall going up the steps. I was told it happens. So I'm going to say it happens.
It does happen.
Oh, it does happen. Okay. I know you did. That's Rob, who made a beautiful video of it, who has his favorite hat on. He's like I used to be when I got my G-Man badge. I wore it to sleep. He wears the hat. Show him that. Show him that.
I thought it would be okay.
Tell me this isn't a special.
It's not right in front of me.
It's gold. But here's why he likes it. He makes it look like an admiral or something, or a general, or then it's got. I'm pretty soon. You know what he's going to do? He doesn't know they do this, but in the NYPD, when we have the NYPD hats for the big guys, you know, the inspectors, which are equivalent of generals.
White hats.
They put a star here, and they put a star here. And they put a star here, and then they put a star here. And then if you Millie, you know, the guy that was the head of the Joint Chiefs, he had so many stars on his uniform, he was going back to the Cub Scouts. He had his Cub Scout things on and his Boy Scout because he wanted to have more. But this is the hat to get. This is what Rob says.
Yes.
Rob likes that one.
And I have a particular affinity.
Now, there's
for that
another
hat
favorite.
because
I don't have the thing here. It's another favorite is
you can fling it if you want.
Elon Musk hat. That's all black,
I was gonna
and
say
then it
black
has
on
like
black.
a little gray thing. That actually, right now, I don't know why I noticed it, but I know it's the fastest selling Trump hat, and they have a special somewhere where you can get 2 for $8, but only over the weekend. So
Oh,
you
come on.
you better find it. You better find it.
I don't think those are coming from an official channel.
Well, who knows? But there's still the
2
same
for
hat.
$8.
Yeah.
Musk is there. Well, they might have grabbed it. Musk's picture is there holding a hat.
Bare
but
minimum, it's got to be made in the
I
USA.
particularly
right?
like.
You do not become the richest man in the world giving away hats.
That
Even
good
if
point.
you get $8. I mean, I'm sorry.
If it's free, then it's good, I guess. But I particularly love this hat because Rudy got it for me when we were at Trump International, and
Sure.
I'll keep this hat for the rest of my life.
And he sleeps in it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll ask him. We'll ask him if he'll sign it one day, Rob. Should we?
So
let's ask him. Let's ask the mayor.
The mayor?
We'll ask the mayor if he'll sign the hat. For
One that would be good. Rudy and
before
Trump.
I start asking a lot of questions, because we have a lot of intelligent people here, I I want to show you something because this is my security that we're going to win the midterm election. Now, this is known as, you have to see the whole thing. Because if you look at this here, you'll see it says, "I'll lead leftist charge versus Trump." There's the leftist leader. Doesn't she look great? Now, that's Governor Hochul of New York. Here are her accomplishments. She has lost more citizens in New York during her time as governor than any governor in history, even under the disreputable Andrew Cuomo. Number two, she's really in office because she's waiting for a big payday from the Buffalo Bills Stadium, which she's been engineering since she was a fairly lowly county or town official. Sort of like a trailer trash crook, trying to get money for a husband who runs the concessions. Beyond that, I mean, the fact that she's corrupt, how's that going to distinguish her from too many other Democrats? Maybe this won't either. She is really, really stupid. Listen to her talk. I mean, it isn't Kamala. It's a different kind of stupid. Kamala had, I believe, an electrical problem in her brain.
Yes, neurological disorder.
I know you think I'm kidding, and I even laugh when I said it. So it sounds, but I believe that the synapses in the brain didn't connect correctly.
Yeah.
So when she began something, I come from a middle class family. And then now, if you said that, then you come up with another thought now, right? But we were poor, but not as poor as some of the people in the neighborhood, whatever it is, right? But the synapse doesn't work, so she'll say, and it was middle class. Oh yes, it was a middle class family that was very middle class, and that's how. And it was a middle class family, and it was in a neighborhood. It was now what neighborhood? The synapses get all jammed up now.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what the hell to say. That's her problem. Okay. This one is a much more common problem. You dealt with it in school. She's dumb. She's stupid. If you came to her with the budget, she can't conceive $1 billion or $1 trillion, except if a husband gets it and they don't have to work anymore. And they can go any place they want.
Can be and be unburdened by. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be.
They're going to want Kamala back. When I get finished with her, I know all about her. One of the reasons I felt sorry for Adams is, whether Adams is a crook or not, I don't know. But he's a small timer compared to this jackass. I mean, he's looking for upgrades on planes. She's looking for millions and millions from the stadium. How about the deal she did for COVID tests after COVID was over? She bought $600 million of COVID tests. Well, she paid $600 million for COVID tests. It was during a campaign. It turned out that California, which obviously is not terribly careful or honest, bought the same tests, exact same tests, from the exact same company for $300 million. Well, that would be bad enough, right? That would be what Musk calls abuse or waste. But there is no waste, and there is no abuse. It's all the middle one, fraud. Right? You shortly find out that after she did that, $300 million shows up in her PAC from the company she gave the money to. That's what we call a BRIBE. I didn't say it because I don't want her to know that, Kash Patel may be coming after her for that, because she can't spell either. So I figured if I did it that way, but I mean, and that also is the giveaway to Trump. Everything I'm telling you, Trump knows, and it's not all from me. I mean, the guy's a New Yorker. All his friends are from New York. This is what they talk about at the golf course. Everybody knows she's a crook, and everybody knows she's stupid, and she's the governor. And they're much happier with that because it's like Biden. They can just push her around. So she's going to lead the charge against us. Honestly, this is a joke. This is the New York Post wishful thinking. We're going to get somebody with a brain. Well, we didn't the last 2 times. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Well,
so
real quick, Mayor, any further comments on the New York City mayor's race as we talk New York politics? Things are heating up. And I do think folks are going to some folks will turn to you for some advice on what to do next year. I mean, you got.
Well, I don't like the polls. And they're too consistent and too dominant to be ignored. Doesn't mean they can't be overcome, but I think they're real. Cuomo wins right now. Now, it points out the psychotic nature of many of my prior citizens. Why a city that's been ruined to the extent it gets ruined by crooked Democrats for, 150 years, votes for Democrats, I can't figure out. If they want to vote for Democrats for some other office, fine. But New York City, almost invariably, if we trace history, run by Democrat mayors, is totally corrupt. You might as well be in Moscow, China. You have no rights, and you better pay off. The court is completely dishonest because it's appointed by the politicians. They claim they're elected, just like Moron was elected. Moron, who decided that I had several guests here from a foreign country today, and we sat out here, and they had gone past across the intercoastal Mar-a-Lago, and I showed them the home across the street. And I said, Moron, who is a judge in New York, valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. Now, these are very rich guys from another country. They were willing to give me a check for double that if I could get it for them. And my lawyer pointed to the house across the street, which is a 2-family house, just an ordinary house. He said, well, that thing's worth about $18 million. Mar-a-Lago is worth $1 billion. Mar-a-Lago, you can't. I went to a real estate appraisers, and Ted and I went out and did it ourselves. And they told us you can't value it because it's an iconic property. If I had Mar-a-Lago, the real estate agent said, I'd kind of shop it around in Saudi Arabia, in Kazakhstan, where you got these very, very rich people that want to have an iconic property, and they'll give you anything you want. I mean, $2 billion would be like, okay, sign the check. I now have, Chic, Boopa Doopa has Mar-a-Lago, right? This guy made it 18 million. I mean, pretty soon here, you're not going to get a 1-bedroom house for 18 million. I mean, it's ridiculous. But he's a crook. Oh, no. Judge Moron was elected 3 times by the people in New York City. Yeah, like the people in Moscow elected their people. He never had an opponent. Do you really claim? I don't think I would claim I was elected mayor of New York if I didn't have an opponent. So he's never had an opponent. Now, how about the other guy, Muskie? The guy that had the criminal case. You remember? Kind of a French.
I forgot his name already.
With the daughter.
Judge Merchan?
Yeah, the daughter who made $500,000 from the Biden.
There's
Biden.
Moron.
And
Merchan.
Merchan. I always think of a Minsk.
The one that used to have his aides sitting on his lap, that one?
No, that's Moron.
And
that was interpreted incorrectly. You're giving sexual implications to that. That's a pure Communist Party thing. She is the Democratic Party agent.
Yeah.
That woman spends her whole life doing Democratic Party stuff. She gets signatures. She has contributed to 19 different Democratic clubs, half of which, if you had an honest city, would be in jail. She's run for office when nobody else would run as a sacrificial lamb for the Democratic Party. She's a Democratic Party hack, but a party agent. It's like the Communist Party. She's sitting there to make sure that Moron does what he's got to do, which is to crucify Trump. Maybe they didn't trust Moron. Now, the other guy, they surely trusted because they were making his daughter a multimillionaire. Before that, she was making a fortune. And after it, immediately, $500,000 from the Biden-Harris campaign after he convicts Trump.
Corrupt to the core.
Yeah, wasn't she like
corrupt to the core? I got to tell you, I prosecuted corruption cases. And a lot of them, you don't prosecute on direct evidence. You prosecute on circumstantial evidence. I had one in New Haven, Connecticut, where I put all of Koch's biggest political people in jail. I had a terrible witness who witnessed the bribes, which were about 10, 12 million, and nothing for the Bidens. I mean, Bidens would look at that and say, small-time players, right?
That's not,
we're not going to go for less than 5 million. I
We're
mean,
not letting that go, Mayor. I mean, just because we won in November.
So I put it together with little pieces of circumstantial evidence. And everybody thought we were going to lose the case because the press, which, believe it or not, was pro them because they're Democrats. I was a Republican. They're pro-corruption. The press would never understand. First of all, they didn't want to understand. And I don't think they were capable of understanding the circumstantial evidence. But the judge was, Judge Knapp. And Judge Knapp, who was a great judge and the head of the Knapp Commission that straightened out the New York City Police Department. Every time I would put in the circumstantial evidence, a little piece of evidence, a picture of a suit that someone said they were wearing when the bribe took place that our witness saw, or the waiter at the Coach restaurant when Stanley Friedman said, "Oh, I never burned any." Our witness said that when he came there every month, when they figured out the bribe, the bag man would write the number of the bribe on a piece of paper, and he'd hand it to him. And Stanley would take a look at it, like his piece, what he was going to get. And it was roughly, they were distributing about 2 or 3 million a month. So Stanley was expecting maybe 400,000, 500,000. Let's say it said 200,000. Take out his lighter, go, and throw it in the ashtray. That's what our witness said, who was a convicted phony psychiatrist who pretended to be a psychiatrist because he wanted to take advantage of women. Great witness, right? So we had to corroborate him like 100 different ways. Stanley was arrogant and stupid enough to deny that on the witness stand. I said, "Mr. Friedman, did you ever burn paper at the Coach restaurant?" He said, "Why would I do that?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe to hide something." He said, "I never did that." I said, "You sure? Think about it." "Never did it." "Yes." As soon as I got off the stand, I called this little waiter who had been at the restaurant for 25 years, who came in and said, we tried to make it as dramatic as possible. I remember. That's him right there, Mr. Friedman. He would come in with this big fat guy. Lindenauer was very fat. And these 2 little skinny guys, and they sit at a table. The fat guy needed like a lot of extra room. I said, "Oh, yeah, okay. He was my witness. I didn't want to demean like that." And I said, "Is anything unusual about them?" So he didn't like them very much. He said, "Yeah, well, for the kind of big shots they were very bad tippers." Good. And then I said, "But anything really unusual?" He said, "Yeah, they ordered steak and they all ate too much." And I said, "Anything unusual?" He said, "Oh, yeah. Almost every month they would come in. Friedman would burn. We were getting afraid he was going to burn the restaurant down. He'd burn this paper in the ashtray." Now, that's called a false exculpatory statement. That was enormously powerful, right? Now, I want you to just switch over to Biden. So Biden says, "I never got any money." And the press says we've never proved that he ever got any money. There is an email from Hunter to his daughter, which says, written by him, says unequivocally, "I gave half my income my father required me to give half my income to him for 30 years. Now, that's evidence. So when they say there's no evidence of money going to him, that's evidence. It's an admission. It's an exception of the hearsay rule. It's evidence, classical evidence. When they say there's no evidence that Joe Biden got money, it's absolutely false. Number two, it would be admissible evidence because it's an exception to the hearsay rule that's considered more reliable than a confession. Now, why is it more reliable than a confession?
Because
it's more reliable than because nobody intimidates you into it.
Right.
A confession, everyone recognizes, going back to the King of England, that they can intimidate you into confessing.
It wasn't coerced.
But this guy did it on his own.
Yeah.
So every time I confront even our Republican friends who are afraid of this, that halfwit who ran the committee, what's his name? Coomer?
Homer.
I don't know if he was hiding this or
I wrote a book.
Or he's trying to cover it up. He never used this. And they said, well, he could be exaggerating. Every witness could be exaggerating.
Right.
Sammy the Bull could be exaggerating that John Gotti killed 17 people.
Anybody who opens their mouth could be.
That's what a trial's about. This is called evidence. His son says he took bribes. His son says the money that I got from foreign countries, for which I could do shit, I gave half of it to my father, who was a senator, a vice president, and a president. I don't know. I would go with that evidence with the American jury. I don't think I've ever had a case better than that. And they got away with it. So what was the best thing about this? We're going to sign off in a minute. But what was the best thing about the State of the Union speech?
Look,
who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
So much.
And maybe we'll get some of our audience.
Yeah, anybody who
members
wants to comment.
involved in this,
What was the worst thing?
well,
Whatever.
All right, so let's do best and worst, but let's make it short so people get a
Okay.
chance. Best, of course, him highlighting those great what we'll call everyday Americans, although they're all extraordinary Americans in their own way. That's the best. The worst, of course, the Democrats' refusal to stand for that 13-year-old boy battling cancer, and his only wish was to be a Secret Service agent. And there you have Sean Curran, the new director of the Secret Service, pinning that Secret Service badge on him. And these Democrats refuse to stand. Mayor, the Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, no, you know what? You know what it is? You're right. It's not that. That's giving them too much credit. It's cowardice. It's cowardice. And that was the worst part.
Can I extrapolate just for a second? I would say that.
Well, give him a microphone. They won't be able to hear him.
I would say that was the best moment because it exposed those rotten ingrates for what they are. And that's what the American people need to see.
Well, you're saying the same thing. You're just giving a different interpretation.
Yes, it's a different interpretation.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm kind of like.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with you.
Yep.
The only thing I regret, although I don't regret, I didn't say it to the president. I almost did. And then I'm glad I didn't because it's a shame when you give a great speech. That's going to take away from his great speech, but it's going to benefit him. So in the future, we go into American history. 20 years from now, and we know whenever we've done State of the Union speech, we've done about 4 of them, right? Yeah. We go back over earlier ones and we pick out things that happened. So one of the most famous things that happened is Ronald Reagan introducing this idea of introducing people. And it was with Lenny Slotnick, right? Who saved people after the Florida airline went down. And Reagan just had the idea, or one of his people, let's bring him to the State of the Union and let's illustrate American heroism. Because at the time we were coming out of Carter malaise and he wanted to, I don't think he ever thought it would develop into what it's developed in. It's almost like an art form now, right?
Yeah.
So since then, every American president, the next time Reagan had 2 and the next time 3 and then 4. And then we get to Clinton, and Clinton had, he never had anybody from Arkansas because too many of the people there in Arkansas look like him, the young ones. So he never wanted anybody from Arkansas. But except from Arkansas, he had people from all over the place. See, anybody who got that joke, I'll send them a hat.
Okay. No, I heard some laughing. I was too busy writing something.
I was in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I met a nice, charismatic young man, kind of handsome. And I was like, and he said his mother met President Clinton back when he was a
he said, did he feel your pain?
Well, I was just like, I was
Tell
like,
him,
yeah.
you take your hands off my pain, you creep.
Oh yeah.
He just wanted to know if you get a divorce, is she still your sister?
Oh wow.
Well, that's like the congresswoman who married her brother to get into the United States.
Yeah,
They
what's
had
her
her
name?
on last night.
The one with the fancy
Yeah,
bar.
she looked like a well-dressed terrorist.
Yeah.
The best thing
She's real
was
fancy.
the best thing was he didn't just eviscerate them for staying seated the whole time. That's also the worst thing. He should have eviscerated them for not standing up for, a girl beaten in the face with a volleyball, and a kid recovering from cancer, and a father slain in the line of duty. He should have just said, look, are you people Americans or not? May I pass out coloring books and crayons so you have something to do?
So I agree and disagree with you. I think if he spent too much time on it, they would have achieved their purpose. Right. I think they thought they were going to distract him.
Right. We were having this
and given the fact that they didn't distract him, I think that's better. Personally, I would have preferred something. I would have liked something Reagan-like, with the kid dying of cancer. You can't even stand up for that. You can't even stand up for that. So what are you worth anything? You can't even stand up for that.
I think what was priceless is if we had enough people who watched all the way through, there had to be some Democrats who fundamentally and bitterly regretted voting for these crazy people. They are no longer a loyal opposition. They're a disloyal opposition.
100%.
Absolutely abnormal people.
Yes.
Who look like they got out of a nut ward, and they're basically holding up these idiotic signs as if, oh, they're veterans. They don't care about veterans. Nobody in their right minds thinks that they do.
Everything they do is
they
a
have
virtue
some other
signal.
idiot shaking a cane at everybody and screaming at the president incoherently. I mean, this is what they've come to, and it's pretty bad, Mayor. You've seen some crazy Democrats in New York, I know.
This is unbelievable. It's nothing like, it's beyond. When I look back, and I used to think, like, when I became mayor, which would be 1993, 94, there were 45 Democrats and 6 Republicans in the city council. And I thought that half of those 45 Democrats were crazy, maniac, left-wing kooks. I would say that none of them would qualify for that now. No. Most of them would qualify for somewhat left of center, with whom I could have a conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe win or lose every once in a while. Every once in a while, win. I did convince them to vote for things that made sense for the city. And now we could go back at any length you want, like into the 90s, the same thing. Something went really, really wrong. I don't know when. Was it Clinton or was it Obama? Or did it build on both? Or
it seemed to happen in the late 90s where they really went off the deep end. I remember I lived in New York all through your era, and it was great. I had been in Dinkins' era, so I knew the difference quickly between the two. And Ruth Messenger, remember her? We used to think she was a wacko and out of control. I would actually say in that group last night, Ruth Messenger would have been to the right of some of those people. Remember her, the Upper West Side?
Yeah. Now,
Queen or whatever she was.
You know what I was disappointed about? That Fetterman didn't vote for the men shouldn't participate in women's sports vote.
I didn't know that.
In fact, every Democrat voted against it. Well, no, I may be wrong. We got to go back to the Senate.
2 voted not present. Slotkin and another.
So he voted against it.
Yeah.
Huh. Was Fetterman wearing a suit at the speech last night? Did he attend? What was he wearing?
I didn't see him.
I don't know if
I didn't see him.
And I didn't.
You know what? You know what you're reacting to? Our Fetterman, Elon wore a suit.
Yes.
Oh, and he looked great.
And he looked darn
so
good.
handsome.
I'll tell you that.
I thought he looked great in that.
You know, I think he did it because there was a lot of defense of Zelensky for dressing up like a slob, and then they would say, "Well, Elon dresses up like a slob."
That was nice, but that shows what respect Elon had.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if he keeps doing it.
Yeah.
I hope he keeps doing
Even
it.
for the big moments.
I always think if you're the richest man in the world, you can dress any way you want. Well, that's okay.
Pretty much.
And he's saving the country. So I think,
I just think he looked so damn good in it. You know,
when we've sunk to the level that Fetterman is the test, of when we've sunk to the level that Fetterman is the test of how great things are?
That's where we are. Let's be realistic. That's where we are. We haven't
bar has been lowered.
we haven't gotten any better. That's where we are. Can you
Without
move,
software.
can you move one of those around so we see?
And Steve Hecht is over here. He's got the mic.
Steve's on the mic.
The Democrats appear like lunatics because the cabal that has managed the Biden regime for the 4 years is desperate to protect the federal bureaucracy. Because it is
100%
the
right.
most effective weapon that they have to transform the United States from a constitutional republic into a dictatorship. And if they lose that weapon, their dream is dead. Their agenda is over. So they don't care if they destroy the Democrat Party. And that's exactly what they're doing. And Trump is putting them right in the corner, which is what he has to do.
And it's wonderful. He has a guy like Musk who owes nothing to nobody. And it seems to me he's just going to go right down. He's going to go right to the end. What does he care?
He's my favorite
What? No matter what, Musk is going to. It's ridiculous. Musk is stealing, or Musk. I mean, there's not enough money for Musk to steal.
You can't buy them.
No, you can't buy them. Yeah, look. Trump has turned completely against his electrical vehicles, and he's supporting. I mean, here's a guy that runs the biggest electrical vehicle company in the world, and everything Trump is doing is destroying electrical vehicles. Everything.
But Musk can see there's bigger.
And Musk says to himself,
but
"Okay,
Musk
that's
is
only one thing." That's right.
He's not concerned about that. I think Musk is with Trump because he figured out that his business will not prosper if the Democrats control the United States, because they will kill innovation. They're dictators.
Yeah.
They're totalitarians.
And perhaps Western society.
Absolutely. The
And I think
CCP will be very happy.
Which is why global obviously is.
I think he's a sincere believer in the First Amendment too, in free speech.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's what began the acquisition of X, which was a losing proposition. But really, I think the acquisition of X literally saved free speech.
Absolutely.
It was before Trump. And I don't know if Trump could have gotten elected if he hadn't gotten X. And we could get that. I'm on X. And I would get the Trump message out to 1 million people on X. Would not have been available if he hadn't gotten X.
We are very lucky that Elon Musk is who he is, because he really has helped save the United States for freedom.
Yeah. And it seems he can take this stuff. You know, it seems like he's not a shrinking violet. My God. I mean, they're attacking him like crazy.
Well, that's normal for them.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as much of a devil now, maybe more than Trump.
They back off a lot of our people. Not all of our people stand up. A lot of them, I mean, you can't imagine how many fewer friends I have now. Well, not since Trump won. You're all coming back.
Yeah. Well, some of those guys like Zuckerberg and Bezos, they maybe, you don't know, they converted after the fact.
I'll take it. That's what happens.
Exactly. But they probably realize too that their business will be crushed if they keep supporting the totalitarians that they've been supporting for the last 4 years.
Well, that's why we're glad to have him in Texas, number one. And number two, he wanted to get rid of the subsidies because he knows he can win on a competitive playing field.
Yes.
He doesn't need that.
I believe that's right. And that there's a market. There's a market for electric vehicles. They're not going to take over, but they're going to have a very, very nice luxury niche market like you have one, and you love it.
I have it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Elon Musk's transgender son. I think that was a moment of radicalization.
Isn't that something? Yeah, we have to go more into his history to figure that out. But that could shake me up.
Well, he said, I was lied to. I don't know what this.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, he may be a eyewitness to the conspiracy that's been going on to do that. I mean, this is a major left-wing Marxist conspiracy to ruin American morality. I mean, it's in the big picture. If you look at Marx says the way we take control, we got to ruin their morale. Whatever their traditional morality is, we have to ruin it. Because then they will be lost and they'll come to us.
Hate Catholics. Don't ever forget that.
Oh, yeah. I wish the
They
dying,
hate everybody.
We've been the strong.
I wish the dying Pope would figure that out.
Well, it's called.
Well, God bless him.
It's called divide and conquer. That the proletariat bourgeoisie confrontation didn't work for them, so they went to racism.
Right.
So everything is how to divide and demonize, and that's traditional Marxism, and that's what's happened to us. And now we have a chance to defeat it.
Yeah,
and it's up to Donald Trump, but it's up to all of us too.
Yeah. But let's give ourselves a little hope as we move on to tomorrow and look at the new leader of the opposition. There she is, hokle pokle, brainless, responsible for more deaths in New York than any governor.
I thought Cuomo had the record.
That thing does her a lot of justice.
Actually,
Oh, I think it makes her look a lot better than she should look.
she stumbled out of a dive bar about 4 a.m.
Well,
but I would say they started parading it out when the architects of doom decided that we're now in the stage where we're going to tell the people, yeah, we are screwing you, and guess what? There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, there is. I think we're past that. I think they now realize there is something we can do about it. And Ted, I want to thank you very, very much for coming with me to get the ashes and taking those wonderful pictures of St. Edward's.
Yeah, let's get that.
Because I tell you what, we don't take America to where we want it unless we got God with us. Oh, and I'm going to go back to John Kennedy for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to believe in God. I think it stopped after him with the Democrats.
Right.
Yeah, it stopped after him. Well, man, I mean, you can be really active and believe in God. I mean, Marilyn Monroe would have been really. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say she'd be tough to avoid.
Let's all hold our tongue
I guess
for a second.
I'm explaining my weakness.
While we show Matt, this is from Mass earlier today, Ash Wednesday.
So now we go to Hochul. That's easy.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe is a challenge.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I want to close as you're talking about the videos and pictures. We have some short video. This is today's Ash Wednesday Mass.
Nobody goes to church anymore. Look at that.
This is a packed service. This is Mass. We call it Mass. It's not
this is Mass today.
Yeah. And this is St. Edward's. Was this St. Edward's we were at?
The Kennedy Church.
The Kennedy Church, although President Kennedy, his last...
we're going to show him that one.
Was St. Anne's.
St. Anne's. It was the last place he went to Mass.
Sunday
This is the
before
place he went to Mass, and his family did. They were pumped.
There's the mayor. Look, there's two types of Catholics, but there's more than two major groups of Catholics. So you got the ones that sit in the front, and the ones that are way in the back row.
Yeah, you have the Pharisees and the Sadducees that sit in the front and go,
yeah.
See me here. And then you have
But the mayor's more like my father, at least now, in that we always we had our spot, about 4 rows from the back.
Right, yeah.
And then again, no, he was a judge in town, so maybe there was a reason, more of a reason for that, right? Yeah.
It's a beautiful church. It's not that big, but it's a beautiful church.
Beautiful church, good crowd. Were you at St. Edward's?
No, I'm a SSPX Latin Rite guy. So
where'd you go?
It's over at Holy Rosary.
I want to go to a Latin Mass.
You should come over with us.
Do they need altar boys?
Okay, good, great, good. My priest.
If you just give me a card, I'd remember it all.
I will. My priest will love you, and you will love him too.
And I got the responses.
And you did it in the real way there. I was a 70s product, so I've had to learn all this stuff on my own. I had Kumbaya and Bridge Over Troubled Water, but I didn't. We didn't get the
well, that's when I got very discouraged. You get me there. I was actually afraid to go because they would put me on the terrorist list if I went to a Latin Mass.
Ooh, you might.
We were considered, right?
Yeah.
Right up there.
Yeah.
Those Latin Mass people are really dangerous. Oh, they are really. You should know those Latin Mass people are really dangerous.
All right. Yeah.
How they got away with that? I don't know. The FBI put that out.
Yeah.
I hope Kash Patel is kicking them all out. But
right.
Yeah. Well,
what a day.
Ted is telling me he's going like this. Usually he goes like this, which is good. That's good. Got my head cut off.
I try not to do that. You can't cut off Mayor Giuliani. That's why I do the thumbs up.
Okay.
I have a hard time doing that with Mayor Giuliani.
I'm going to remind you of the theme of the day. We're all going to return to dust. So don't think you're too damn important, huh? You got a role to play. And if you play that role right, you'll get a great gift in heaven. And if you don't, I don't know what's going to happen to you. And I believe that. And I think it's a good thing if most people believe that. And if you don't want to believe it, it's fine with me. But it should, I tell atheists, it's better for you if more people believe in God, because we'll have a much more stable, and we'll have a much more moral, and we'll have a much more productive, and have a much more solid society. So if you want to live your 10 years, 20 years, 30 or 100 years on earth happily, encourage religion. Because they're wrong and we're right, but okay. So God bless America, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 on
Lindell TV.
Lindell TV and
X.
And then we'll see you at 8 on America's Mayor Live.
Which, wherever you're watching it right now?
Or wherever you're watching it right now. We'll be back. And we will tell you the things that nobody else tells you, or not too many other people. And losing Bongino means one less person is telling you now. But he's in a great spot. A lot of people are upset about that appointment because it's like having 2 Cash Patels. Great. God bless America.
Hey!
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to